Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Very Connected podcast, where we share on all kinds of topics related to bariatric surgery. And today we are being joined by Rodolfo Alverez, who is a very special guest. He's been on our program several times. Some of you may have met him already. Say hello, Rodolfo.
Hello to everyone. I'm so glad and happy to be here today. So thanks for having me.
And I think your topic today, which is stop people pleasing, start thriving, is a great way for us to kind of like realize more of who we are, because sometimes we look at our lives, and I know for myself, this is one thing that I've kind of learned is when you're always kind of that peacemaker, you're always that person who wants everything to kind of stay even keel, and you have a very strong desire to serve other people. You want others to be in their happy place. The thing is sometimes we adjust our behaviors, and it may not always be resonant with like that inner part of who you are, and it's not always to our benefit, and really it's not to the other person's benefit either as well, because you adjust your power and you're actually taking away some of their power by trying to adjust your behavior to make them happy, because you can't ever make somebody else happy. It's up to them. So
Exactly.
at this point, I'm gonna kind of turn over. I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction on you, Rodolfo, as far as your bio, but I want you to kind of go deeper into that. I know you've worked in the coaching industry for some time now, probably close to 10 years, and worked with not only individuals, but also corporate clients and their personnel as well. You have kind of worked all over the world, Chile, Mexico, Canada, and the US. And I think you just have such a great way of bringing things, grounding it, and helping people to kind of see things they haven't seen before. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the tables over to you. I'm going to mute myself to get onto our Facebook and just say hello there as well.
Excellent. So I have a question for you, Brenda, before starting with the presentation. Our attendees, the ones that are in this Zoom room, they can chat and they can interact with us.
Absolutely. And actually on our Facebook page, I'll be watching that as well. On the live event, they can chat as well. And if there's any questions or comments, we know you love the interaction. You're
Okay.
always checking in.
Yeah. I always check in. So please let us know by the chat that you're here. Say hi or whatever you want. I just would like to start interacting with you. First of all, thanks for being here. Oh, I see people already interacting. Thank you, Tara, Portia. Excellent. Great. Um, I love this topic because I feel that people pleasing is one of the patterns that I've seen that tend to sabotage the weight loss journey of bariatric patients. And I've seen this pattern, also perfectionism, being a caregiver, right? Struggling with imposter syndrome. Those are some of the patterns, but this one is one that in particular I feel affect the weight loss journey, also relationships, and the way we feel about ourselves, the relationship we have with ourselves. So thanks for having me, and I will start sharing some slides because I have valuable information that I would like to show you today. Now, I would like to share a little about my story, my background. I know that Brenda already introduced me, but I would like to add some information that is going to help you to understand better what I do. So I'm from Chile. I'm an engineer and also a mindset coach. For a while, I worked as a consultant, but I felt that that wasn't my passion, that my passion was to help others. And in that moment, I set up a wellness center in my country. Me, myself, I struggled with my weight since I was a kid. I was overweight, and at some point, I was able to transform my habits, also my mindset. I found this shift very valuable, and I wanted to share my journey with others, and that's why I started a wellness center. And I created a program called Balance, in which we provided emotional tools to support people in their weight loss journeys. People with bariatric surgery or people just wanting to lose weight that didn't necessarily have a surgery. So I worked on that for years, and then I started developing programs on different topics, such as sexual well-being, anxiety and stress management, and all of this is connected. Like it's all about mindset, right? And this pattern, which is people pleasing, is one of the patterns, as I told you, that I've seen tend to block people in their journey to success. Okay, so what we will do today in this class is to explore what is people pleasing. And then also I will share with you some tools that will help you to overcome this pattern. Now, throughout the class, I will be asking you questions. I love engagement with my students, the people that are attending my classes. So thanks to all of you that are sharing with us by the chat. I can see that Tammy, Lisa, Wen, Rocio, Chelsea, Steve, Latasha, excellent. All of you are here connected. Also, I can see that Brenda is replying by the chat. So thanks, Brenda, for that support also. And let's begin with today's content. So the first thing that I would like to explore with you is the following. What does to be nice mean? What does to be nice mean? And what I would like you to think about is about a nice kid. If we have a kid and this kid is nice, how does this kid behave? Maybe it's a kid that always says yes, that likes to do the homework, that maybe when has to eat the food, eats all the food and doesn't complain. It's a kid that maybe is always happy, like smiling, doing the things that we ask the kid to do, etc. That's the concept of being nice that we sometimes have in mind. And one of the things that I have noticed is that for some people, being nice can be a virtue, can be something positive, okay? But if we analyze that concept deeper, we can understand that, for example, being nice means to maybe not being genuine, not be true to ourselves, not communicating and expressing our real needs. And I don't know if those things are a virtue. Actually, sometimes those behaviors can play against us. So the first thing that we need to do after we start diving into the contents of this class is to understand that being nice is not necessarily something positive. Actually, there's a cost, there's a price that we pay because we're being nice. And that's a behavior that sometimes we will have to work on and transform, okay? Now, personally, I would like to share that when I was a kid, as I told you, I struggled with my weight. And I remember when I went to school and I was bullied and I didn't want to be bullied, okay? And even that I felt very kind of like in an environment that was a threat, I wasn't comfortable, I developed a mechanism to protect myself. And this was the mechanism. I turned into my classmates' teacher. So if they didn't know something, I was always the person that was there, ready to support, ready to help, ready to teach them whatever they needed. So I was the friend that was the helper since I was a kid. And in that moment, I started making a transaction, and I wasn't aware of that. The transaction was, okay, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to be there available emotionally. I will teach you whatever you need. And then in exchange, I'm going to get your approval. Or in exchange, you are not going to bully me, or you are not going to hurt me. And that was the way I got used to create relationships in my life. And that pattern was present for a long time. So why am I sharing this story with you? First of all, to show you that when we're talking about people pleasing or wanting to be nice, we need to understand that this is a mechanism that includes a transaction. We are giving something, but we are giving something because we want something in exchange. I'm going to go to the meeting with my friends and they are going to offer me food and I will say yes. And I know that I shouldn't eat that, but I'm going to say yes because I want to feel that I belong. That I'm one of them. And that's the transaction. We don't set the boundaries because we want to obtain something, and we need to be aware of what we want to obtain, because that's why we are trying to please others. Let me know by the chat, please, if this is making sense. I would like to know. Gwen says yes. Thank you, Gwen. Rocio says yes too. Latasha says 100%. Yes, yes. Okay, awesome. Excellent. So I would like to share some of the ways in which people tend to minimize disapproval, and we tend to do things to be liked by others when we're trying to please them. Okay. So one of the ways, for example, could be hesitating or overthinking. So, for example, someone's offers something, and I know that I should say no, that is not good for me. But instead of saying no up front, then I'm like, let me think about it. I'm going to take some time, etc. And then we experience a lack of clarity. Okay. Another way in which we can minimize disapproval is agreeing with people that maybe we disagree. So someone shares a strong opinion, and then we're like, yes, I feel the same way. And maybe I don't. But supporting this person is giving me a sense of maybe security in terms of the relationship. Oh, we agree, we're aligned, we're together, everything is going to be fine. There's no conflict in this relationship. Okay. Then we have holding back. Maybe you're in a meeting with your teamwork, you would like to share something, you have an opinion, and then you don't do it because you're scared that if you share, then they're going to judge you, or maybe they will reject your opinion, right? Smiling, for example. Maybe you're sad, maybe you're down, you're stressed, but you're smiling because you want others to feel or perceive you as a happy person and have a good impression. Then we have not interrupting. So, for example, someone is talking and you don't want to interrupt the person to share your idea or your point of view, because if you do, then they might feel bad. Okay. Then we have rejection laugh, which is connected to reacting sometimes and laughing when actually you don't want to, but others are doing that and you do the same. And then we have lying to fit in. So you can make up story or invent things in order to feel that you belong. Now, again, the purpose of these patterns is to obtain something. There's an exchange. I'm in the meeting and I'm agreeing with a person and saying that I agree when maybe I don't agree, because I want this person to think that we're aligned and that our relationship is okay. And that gives me a sense of confidence or a sense of security in the relationship. And that's why I'm doing this. Or maybe I'm smiling because I want others to think that I'm the perfect person. And then if they like me and they think that I'm perfect, then they're going to be available for me emotionally. Or maybe I lie to fit in and I say that I did things that I didn't because I want others to feel that I'm like them. Because if they think that, then they're going to think that I'm kind of like the same style of person and that we get along really well. So again, always when we're trying to minimize disapproval, there's something that we want. There's something that we want in exchange. There's a sense of security, emotional security that we are getting. Now, there's a cost. There's a cost. Every time that we are nice, and actually we don't want to be nice, and we please others. What's the cost? Anxiety. Why anxiety? Because you might be immersed in relationships in which you can't be yourself. You can't be honest, you can't be authentic, you can set your boundaries, you can express your needs. And there's an issue with that because maybe you're all the time questioning, what are you going to say? What are you going to do? How are you going to express it? And then feeling that if you're true to yourself and you're genuine, then you're going to lose others. And that's why there's anxiety. Your relationships don't feel safe. Then, for example, resentment. Why resentment? Because you might do some things for others that you don't want to do, right? And then inside of you, that feels bad. And you start telling yourself that you had to do that because that was the only way in which they were going to be happy. So you don't feel free. You don't think that that's a healthy relationship. You feel that there was something that was wrong that they did to you. When actually you chose to act that way, but it feels that they did something to you, that they were requesting something. Then we have physical pain. And why do I say physical pain? Because, for example, some people don't set boundaries and they don't sleep the amount of hours that they need. They don't eat when they need to eat. And given that, they don't take care of themselves. And if they don't take care of themselves and satisfy their needs, then, of course, then physically, they will pay a price in the long run. In terms of the bariatric journey, for example, people that are not eating when they are supposed to, because maybe they don't want to interrupt others or they don't want to communicate their needs, right? Or people, for example, that go out with friends and when they offer something to them, they don't say no because they don't want to feel that they don't belong, right? And of course, that's going to start sabotaging then your surgery and your weight loss journey because actually you might not be sticking to your plan, okay? Then a sense of powerlessness. And what do I mean with that? You do the things not for you, you do the things for others. So ultimately, they are the ones that are defining your destiny and what happens in your life and in your relationships. And then there's a sense of isolation. And why there's isolation? Because you might feel that you have other people in your life, that they are there for you, but they are there just because you do the things that they want to, not because they honestly and genuinely accept you by who you are. So actually, you might be surrounded by people, but maybe you feel that you don't have anyone. And that's a sense of isolation because you can't be yourself in your relationships. Now, I have a question for you, and I would like you to answer by the chat, which is the following. What's the cost of being nice in your life today? What's the cost of being nice or the cost of pleasing others in your life today? Maybe you're not expressing your needs in terms of your surgery and your journey. Maybe you are not saying no to your friends and you are doing things that you are not supposed to. Maybe in your family, you need to focus on others and you need to prioritize yourself and do the things that are good for you in terms of your surgery. What's the cost that people pleasing or being nice is having for you today? So we have some comments. Wen says resentment and isolation. Portia says isolation. Okay. Rocio says constant anxiety and feeling like I'm imposter in my life, which I imagine is kind of like not being able to be yourself in your life, right? Like people don't know the real you. Kay says, I get walked on and taken advantage of. Patty says, not saying no, isolation, I prioritize others over myself. Chelsea says, isolation and anxiety, becoming a doormat, says Lisa. Jolene says, I get taken advantage of. I have resentment, says Cynthia. Rosemary says, the cost of taking care of my niece and myself. Latasha says, still putting family, friends, organizations, obligations ahead of my wants and needs. Steve says, anxiety and isolation. Fear that people are going to keep using me. Wow. Okay, so that's the cost of this pattern. And one of the interesting things is that when we please others, for that second, it feels better or the best thing that we can do. Like when you're there and you're supposed to set the boundary, but you don't set the boundary, you're like, okay, I'm not going to set the boundary because I want to avoid conflict. And for 1 second or 1 minute, it feels good. But then after a while, you start realizing what you did to yourself and actually what you did to others because they are not able to know who you really are. So there's a comment that resonated a lot, which is, I feel like I'm an imposter in my life. Yes, maybe people don't know you, but they don't know you because you don't feel maybe comfortable of being yourself because there's a fear of losing them. So what I would like to do now is to start exploring how this pattern is developed, okay? How this pattern is developed. And I would like you to start actually examining how did this pattern start in your life? So typically, this pattern, the people pleasing pattern, is developed in a moment of our lives in which we didn't feel safe in our relationships. So I would like to give you an example. Imagine that you have a kid. This was a kid that went to school, and then one day, this kid comes back and had a bad grade in a test. Okay, and maybe the parents start being mad and punish this kid because of that, and the kid feels that he's no longer safe, that the love that he felt that he was receiving by his parents is no longer available, and that he, sorry, can lose them. Okay, so given that this kid feels unsafe, then the thinking process that is going to happen after is, how can I be safe in this relationship? That's the question that the kid makes himself. And then after that, the way in which this kid answers the question is, okay, I need my parents to be happy, because if they are happy in the same way they were before, then they are not going to punish me. They are not going to be mad at me. And then everything is going to be fine in the relationship and I'm going to be safe. So we have a kid that now starts pushing himself to have excellent grades, to start being a perfectionist, and start pleasing his parents. That's how this pattern is developed. It's developed in a moment in which we experience a sense of unsafety. And what we're trying to do is to feel safer. And the illusion that we have is the following: if I do what you want me to do, then I'm going to be safe in this relationship and you're going to like me. So we start confusing this a distortion, being liked with being loved. That's the,
Rodolfo,
yes,
hey, can I add to that?
of course.
Okay. So I think I shared with you before we went on this call that I've been doing some extra work each day just on emotional, mental challenges, and that's been going on for some time. And I did this class, it was on Mind Valley, it was on manifesting. And we did like a meditation. And through the meditation, they ask, like if you have a block in some area of your life, what does that go back to? And during the meditation, you kind of see yourself as a child, because like you said, most of these things happen when we're younger, at a younger age. Like just seeing yourself, like whatever age this first started. So for me, my mind immediately, we went back to when I was 3 years old. And what popped up in my mind was this picture of me my mom was holding my baby sister, and I was 3 years old and my sister was just born, and she was feeding her, giving her a bottle, and she was crying, and my mom was trying to, get her to calm down and so forth. And so what I found myself doing was going to her, trying to help her with the baby, trying to calm the baby. And somehow from that standpoint, I don't know if that was the first time that this had happened with this people pleasing, but for me, that was the first time I guess I recognized that I was kind of like making somebody else more important than my own needs. Like I was wanting to try to please my mom, try to help this newborn baby, and noticing my mom's reaction of, like, oh, you're helping me. Thank you so much. I appreciate, she was very appreciative, and noticing what kind of attention I got from that. So fast forward to me right now, that little incident, along with probably coupled with incident after incident after incident over the years, has led me to things that, doing things that don't always, like you said, resonate with how I really feel or what I really want, or, I'm because of those kind of people pleasing. So I'm just kind of bringing in an example. So it doesn't only affect one area of your life. It may not only affect your weight loss, it may be affecting your finances, your other relationships with people. But once you're aware of this, like Rodolfo is bringing in, what happens is once you bring awareness, you can kind of bring compassion to yourself and say, you know what, I was doing it because, and understanding that is a way to shift your mindset and know that it's okay to kind of be more true to yourself. So thanks, Rodolfo.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up. Actually, Brenda, thanks for your vulnerability and sharing that personal story. I really appreciate it because I imagine that when you were sharing, our attendees also were thinking about themselves and how this pattern started, right? Um, as I shared at the beginning of the class, in my case, I was bullied at school. My classmates were not being nice with me. That generated a lot of emotional pain, and I wanted to feel safer. And given that, I started to helping them, like teaching different things, right? And that's how my pattern was developed. So if you're here in the class, I would like to ask you, how was your pattern developed? And if you can share maybe a little about it by the chat, um, I would love to hear. Also, I feel that in these classes, one of the most powerful things that happen is that you start listening other people's stories. You start listening about their blogs, and we kind of like connect with our humanity, meaning it feels that this just happens to us, but actually no, other people are struggling too, and they have their challenges, right? And they are trying to do the best they can to overcome them. So please, if you can and want, share about your pattern and how this pattern started. Now, when we build the people pleasing pattern, we have some illusions, okay? And I would like to share about what we tell ourselves. And what we think is the following: we don't want anyone to have a negative thought about us. No one will feel anything negative towards me. And then no one will demonstrate any nonverbal sign of disapproval. Okay. So those are the things that we're trying to avoid. Why? Because we connect those things with a lack of love. And we try to keep everybody acting in the way that we expect, just saying positive things about us, having just positive emotions, and approving us all the time. And that's what we would like to obtain. Why? Because that feels safer for a while. But then we realize that actually we're not being honest, we're not being authentic, and actually we were never safe. Okay? So Rocio is sharing by the chat. I am the youngest, and I don't really remember getting my parents' attention because they were always working or busy. And I remember getting a lot of attention from teachers at school for doing well and helping out in class. So I always tried to do the best at school. Thanks for sharing and being vulnerable, Rocio. So in your case, the pattern started because when you went to school, if you did well, then you got attention. And that probably felt for you as a kid safer, right? So that was the beginning of the pattern. Portia is sharing by the chat, same as Rocio. Also, it led to emotional eating. Wow. Okay. Rosemary says, trying to keep the pace or make upset people happy in a volatile and abusive home. Wow, so maybe there was conflict, right, inside of the house, and then it's trying to keep peace to feel safer, and given that, do what others want. Okay, thanks for sharing by the chat. Again, for me, this is the most powerful part of the class, hearing from you and what are you processing and digesting actually from this class. So I would like to share with you now some tips that will help you to set effective boundaries. One of the biggest challenges that a people pleaser struggles with is with setting boundaries, with communicating their needs and being authentic. And I would like to share with you some tools that will help you to do that. Okay? Let me know by the chat if you're following me. I would like to know, and if you're ready to move on to that section of the class. Cynthia says, yes, ready. Okay, awesome. Rosemary says ready, Steph says ready, Rosie, Chelsea, excellent. Okay, 6 keys to set effective boundaries. 6 keys to set effective boundaries. Key number 1, determine the boundary between generosity and selfishness. Determine the boundary between generosity and selfishness. So when people struggle with people pleasing, sometimes there's a point in which they don't know what they really want and what they want to do because they really want to do genuinely, or if they want to do because they want to please others. And that boundary is not clear. Okay. So if you struggle with that and you are not sure if you're doing things for yourself or for others, then there's something that you can do. If someone asks you to do something and you're not sure if you would like to say yes or no, then what you can do is first tell the person, you know what, I don't have clarity in this moment. I'm not sure. Give me some time and I'm going to get back to you. Okay, so you don't have to respond anything if you don't know and you are not ready. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that you can take some time to think about doing that or not doing that. And also what you can do is to think how doing that feels emotionally in your body. And maybe you're going to feel light, you're going to feel motivated, and you're going to like doing that thing. Or maybe inside is going to feel bad. And maybe your stomach is going to experience some pain. And maybe you're going to experience some pain over your chest, or maybe a burden over your back. And your body will know. So basically, what I'm telling you is let your body tell you, if something feels good or bad. And then if your body is aligned, take action. And then if you connect with your body and you notice that you really don't want to do that, then you say, you know what? No, I will pass. So for example, if you have a friend that invites you on a trip and then you're not sure if saying no or yes, tell the friend, you know what? I will take some time to think about this. And then after that, you can connect with your body and how it would feel to saying yes and how it would feel to say no. And then based on how your body reacts, you make a choice and you communicate that choice. That's the first key or tip that I have for you to set effective boundaries. Brenda, is this making sense? I would like to know.
Have myself muted. Yeah, actually it is. And I kind of think I was taking some notes. You know, what sometimes it is hard to know right away when you're presented with an idea or a thought, and maybe it's not even somebody else presenting it to you. Maybe it's yourself, like having an idea of what you want to do. I think the big thing is just kind of like looking at those ways you will feel, like you said, light, motivated, love what you're doing, opposed to also maybe what's holding you back. Like if there is something that you don't want through that situation, whether it's travel or a career decision or whatever, is it money, time? Is it like your time, what you're doing being worthwhile? I guess there's just questions to ask yourself.
Yeah, totally. And check how your body reacts because the body always knows. The body always knows. Maybe you don't know in that moment, but your gut is going to tell you if you really want to say yes or you want to say no. Now, the next tip that I have for you is the following. Discover your values. Discover your values. So I want you to think about this situation. Okay. I want you to think about this situation. So, for example, let's say that a friend invites you to do something, to go out. But then that night you have a commitment, which is a class or a support group from your bariatric journey, right? In which you're going to learn some tools or obtain some information that is going to help you in your journey. So maybe you don't know how to tell your friend that you don't want to go or you can't go because you have this other commitment and it's important for you. And one of the things that is going to help you to say and express your needs is to be clear on your values. When I talk about a value, what I mean is the following. A value are the things that you value. You can value wellness and well-being. You can value friendship. You can value your health. You can value times with your kids, time with your family, etc. We as humans all value different things. And when you know your values, then you can come back to your friend and have a response which could sound like the following. You know what, friend? I would love to go with you. I really treasure our time together. But today, my priority is my health. I decided to make this choice. I had the surgery. I want to succeed. And I think that the tools that I'm going to get in that class or support group are essential for me. So unfortunately, I will say no for this night. I will pass, but I would like us to reschedule this date out for the future. So you are communicating what you value and what's important for you. And when you do that, when you are in front of a person that really loves you and appreciates you, the person should respect that. That person has values too. And probably they value your freedom and they value your happiness and they value your health too if you value it. But the point is that you need to be clear to communicate that. When we are not aware of our values and the things that we value and we don't communicate them to others, then they don't know them. And given that, they don't respect them. So if you want others to respect your values, you need to be clear on them and communicate them. And actually here, what I'm sharing with you is a list of values. You can check it later with some concepts or ideas that people typically value. You can check the ones that resonate the most with you, the ones that you find the most valuable, and having clarity of that is going to help you to then communicate them to others when you have to set boundaries. Let me know by the chat, please, if this is making sense. I would like to know.
Hey, Rodolfo, some people may be listening to a replay later where they only are hearing or only hearing your words and not seeing your list of values. Any suggestions on this? Anything? Do you want me to read a few off or?
If you want, please go ahead. Yeah, I love that.
So I'm going to just do some ones that stick out to me. How about accountability, balance, caring, courage, um, flexibility is important to me.
Mhm.
Joy. I think some of the joy, freedom is really important.
Mm.
Um, Spirituality, truth, travel, wealth. And I think wealth kind of carries over not just wealth and money, but wealth of health, wealth of like having an abundance of things that you want in your life. So,
Thanks for
th-
sharing that, and thanks for giving like the people, the attendees that will be watching this class later, an idea on what to do. If someone is listening to this class and maybe like this is not in real time and you would like to learn more about values, you can just Google like list of values or what values are, and you will get this information. Yes, 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 yes. So next step, next step, or next tip to set effective boundaries. Stop taking ownership of others' reactions. Stop taking ownership of others' reaction. So some people are going to resist you when you set boundaries and you communicate your needs, right? That's not your responsibility. If you communicate a need and something that is important for you, the role of others should be to respect that and honor that and be there for you, right? If they think that you're setting boundaries and you shouldn't, or you should act different, and they start judging you, that's their interpretation. And there's nothing you can't do. Nothing. So in the universe, in the world, people will react. And my thought is that if people love you, they will also be willing to respect and honor your values. If they don't, then there's something to examine in that relationship because they are not honoring what is important for you. Okay. The next tip is learn what love means for you. And what do I mean with this? Some people confuse love with other concepts. For example, approval. People think that if others approve them, then they are loving them, which is not necessarily the case. People can judge you, reject you, and also love you too. Actually, I always give this example, but a parent can love their children and judge them and punish them, and that doesn't mean that they don't love them, right? And doing the things that others want without satisfying your needs, that's not necessarily love. So if you're doing that for others, that doesn't mean that you love them necessarily. I mean, love considers also loving yourself and taking care of your needs. And then when you're satisfying your needs, you can go and help others. But helping others with your needs not satisfied is not sustainable in the long run. And if other people love you, they don't want you to do that because they will know that it's not sustainable. Not for them, not for you. Okay? So learn and understand what love means for you. And for me, a healthy definition of love is related to to give what we have. Not what we don't have, what we have. So we are complete, we satisfy our needs, and then we can give what we have to others. That's the definition that I have for love, okay? Then, the fifth key that I would like to share with you is connected to be clear on your rights as a person, okay? So Brenda, could you help me and read some of these rights, please?
Absolutely. Yes, I'd love to. So you have the right to say yes or no without guilt. You have the right to make mistakes, correct your course, or change your mind. You have the right to negotiate your preferences, needs, or desires. You have the right to express and honor your feelings. This next one, I'll see if you want me to continue on, but this next one I think is really important. You have the right to express your opinions, even if others disagree with you.
Yes. I mean, thanks for sharing, Brenda. This is a great list of some of the rights that we have as individuals, okay? And in our relationship with others. And I would like to elaborate on some of them. So, for example, in the first one, you have the right to say yes or no without guilt. Guilt, the definition of guilt is there's something wrong in what I did, okay? So what it's saying is basically you have the right to say yes or no, and you're not doing anything wrong, which is true. If someone invites you to go out and then you don't want to go, if you say no, you're not doing anything wrong to the person. You're just letting the other person know your needs and your values. And that's okay, it's totally fine. Now, yes, they can respond in a way and feel hurt, but I wouldn't say that you're hurting them. You're just being authentic. And if you want to relate to others, I think that authenticity is a value in our relationships. Then we have you have the right to make mistakes, correct your course, and change your mind. Yes, you may say one day, yes, I want to do this, and then the next day you figure it out that you don't want to do it because it doesn't make sense anymore. And you're a human, which means that yes, you can make mistakes. And there's nothing wrong with accepting that humanity and also communicating it to others because others will do the same, but just because they are humans. Then you have the right to negotiate your preferences, needs, and desires. So maybe you want something, the other person wants something different, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with one of you. You just have different values. And now it's a matter of finding a middle point and negotiate and discussing what are we going to do given that we are in different places. And then you have the right to express and honor your feelings, like your feelings are valid and they are emerging for a reason. And then in terms of the opinions, yes, you can share how you feel, how you think. Now, that doesn't mean that others are going to consider that or like change their mind. No, that's not the case. But you can communicate if the other person is important for you and you're important for them. you can communicate what you think. And if you need to explain or you want to explain them why that's important, you can also do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Now, again, that doesn't mean that they are going to change their mind. But actually, this is not about that. It's about you being free and be authentic to yourself. Yes. So let's move on to our last tip or key to set effective boundaries, which
Hey,
is,
Rodolfo.
yeah.
Real quickly, too, I know someone's asking about handouts for this, and I don't know if this is something you typically share or.
Okay, so I'm thinking what could be the most powerful thing that we can do. Um, I can maybe leave my email at the end and I can send them the handout. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do that. If you want the handout, like the summary of the slide deck, I can send it to you. I'm going to leave my email at the end, so you can send me an email and I will send it back.
And if
Um,
you're listening to the replay, I'll make sure I actually have that, Rodolfo. I'll go ahead and put it on now, but we can do it. We'll wait until the end. But I will also put it, if somebody's listening to replay, I'll put it in the description of the event.
okay, awesome, great, thank you. So last key, commit to change. Commit to change. So what does that mean? The beginning of the journey to set boundaries is not going to be easy. I work with clients one-on-one. They are people pleasers. They struggle with prioritizing themselves. And when people don't set boundaries, typically, right, they experience in those moments emotions in their body that paralyze them. So, for example, I don't set a boundary to my parent because when I'm going to speak out loud, I experience, for example, a fear or a pain over my chest, anxiety, and I get paralyzed. And those are emotions that you can work on. Okay. Now, why I'm sharing this information and I'm telling you that you need to be committed to change? Because the beginning is not going to be easy. You might need additional emotional tools to overcome those emotions and emotional blocks, but it's possible. And if you commit, then you're going to do it anyways. And each time, setting a boundary is going to be easier and easier. But the thing here is that you need to start. You need to start. Now, for example, Natasha is sharing that it seems so scary. Well, if there's an emotion, maybe there's some emotional work to do. Sometimes people think like, oh, I have a hard time setting boundaries. Yeah, but like what is happening in that moment is that when you are going to set the boundary, the emotion emerges, it takes over, you're feeling that there's a threat, you feel not safe, and that's why you don't talk. And those are things that you can work on. Okay. But the point is be committed to do whatever it takes. If you need to ask for support, ask for support. If it's hard for you, but you feel that you can do it, start doing it. But be committed. That's the last tip that I wanted to share.
Well, Rodolfo, and also I want to just add, I had a realization a while back whenever I was debating on, it was a business opportunity that I was with. It was not with ProCare. It was with a business colleague that I had, and it was a business opportunity to do with her. And initially, the answer that I had told her was yes, that we were going to do this. And then all at once, I had this realization that it just wasn't true to my nature. It just wasn't going to, I wasn't feeling it, in other words. And the realization is that when you're honest with yourself and you tell how you feel, you actually are not only helping yourself, but you're helping that other person in some way, because whatever is best for you is always best for the other person. And even if it doesn't seem that way in the time. So if you think about it like that, if it's scary and you know that it's going to somehow help the other person in some way by you just being true to yourself, it can be a little, it made me feel a lot better knowing that by being
Yeah.
true to myself, I'm like 100%. When you're true to yourself, you're always being better for that person in some way.
Yeah. And I imagine that when you communicated your needs and what was important for you and what was happening, then you experienced relief also. But because you were doing the correct thing or the right thing.
Absolutely. Yes. So,
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So Brenda, we're getting close to the end of the class. I would like to know if there are questions, comments, or anything that our audience or maybe you would like to add.
I don't really have anything else. I think you said so many wonderful things, and I've kind of added along the way. And I'm looking to see if there's any additional comments over on Facebook. I don't see anything over there. So tell us more about how, if somebody wants more in-depth work, how you might be able to help them. And also, I'm going to share your contact information, your email, website, your Instagram, and how to get a discovery call.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. So there's a question which says, does a majority of people pleasing begin in childhood? And it could, but also it can be developed in a moment in which you felt unsafe in your life. And then given that you develop this mechanism to protect yourself and feel safer, which was to please others. So this can happen during your childhood, but also when you're an adult too. Okay. Now, as I told you, I work with people helping them to overcome this limiting pattern. Um, Not just this pattern, other patterns too, such as imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, to manage stress and anxiety, emotional eating, etc. If you would be interested in working with me and doing the mindset work and learn how to manage your emotions, I'm going to drop a link by the chat. In that link, you can schedule a consultation with me. Okay, this consultation is free. It's basically an opportunity for you, a discovery call in which we can check if we are a good fit for each other. Okay, and then if we meet and then you create value and you're able to get tools to manage your emotions and you feel that this is working, then we can figure out next steps. So I would like to share with you that link by the chat. Also, Brenda shared with me my email. So if you would like to get the slide deck or the handout of the class, please send me an email and I will send it to you after. Okay. And I think that that's it, Brenda.
Okay. That's awesome. I was sharing on both forums. So I shared on both Facebook and here, but if you're listening at some point to the replay, just know that those will be in the description of the event itself. So
Excellent. Great.
wonderful job. And Rodolfo, I know you're needing to pop off here because he's got another event just right after this. So as Rodolfo jumps off, I'm going to share a few more things with you guys. So any last words, Rodolfo, before you jump off?
Thanks for having me here, Brenda. As always, it's a pleasure to work with you with ProCare. Thanks. And I hope we have a next class soon. Yeah.
Yes, we'll have to do that. I'll have to reach out to you again. Thank you, Rodolfo.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. And everybody who's still here on the call with me, thank you for staying on. I just wanted to share, I hope this was helpful for you. We have a lot of people saying thank you and so many great insights. I think the big thing is when we learn from a standpoint of these eye-opening experiences that Rodolfo's shared, what happens is our heart opens up more. We can actually share more love. We can share more of who we are. We can be present with those people in our lives that maybe even if we don't agree with them, knowing that this world is such a better place, that there are differences between us. If everybody was the same, it would just not be, it just would be a boring place to live. And experiencing those differences between each of us in our relationships and thoughts and ways we think can be actually kind of an incredible thing when we realize that it actually is helping us in some way know more of who we are. And so I'm going to actually share just a couple things real quickly. ProCare Health is our sponsor, and I just want to jump onto the website. It's procarenow.com. If you are wanting additional resources, when you jump on there, we actually have a little button that's called Berry Connected. When you jump onto Berry Connected, we have all of our events for each month listed. Everything is on replay until the end of the month. And then we also list things on our YouTube channel and our Berry Connected podcast. Those are usually listed the Tuesday following the event. So if you want to come back, listen to Rodolfo's Again, all you have to do is click on his link again, and it'll bring you to the replay. This would be a great one to listen to and actually maybe take some pictures or screenshots of some of his slides, because some of them were pretty powerful. You can reach out to Rodolfo through email and also request those as well. We do have, I have a little pop-up coming up here. Our next week's event is the Barry Mail Experience with our featured Barry Mail Experience podcasters, and we have those joining us. We also have an upcoming support group on habit changers, tools to transform. And if you're wanting links to our Barry Connected podcast, we have those on that page, along with our link to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has now about 335 videos. So all of our replays are put on there. So go back and listen to any of those. Subscribe. There should be a little button at the top, subscribe, so that you get notifications about upcoming different events. I also want to just say, ProCare Help. I was drawn to ProCare years ago whenever I worked in the clinic setting. As many of you know, I'm a nurse that has been in the bariatric field for some time, probably going on about maybe, I think it was 2012 whenever I first, so about 12 years in the bariatric field. And I came upon ProCare because we started selling vitamins in the clinic, bariatric clinic that I was working at. And we sold many other brands, but ProCare was our patient's favorite because of the price point and because of the quality of the products. Some of our most popular products are our bariatric multivitamins. We were the first company to create a one-a-day multivitamin. So please go in and check those out. We have all kinds of wonderful tasting calcium supplements. And guys, they have the smoothest flavor. They're made with, many of them, we do have some made with calcium citrate, but we also have some made with TrueCal. They just have smooth flavor. And then we also have a line of protein supplements and therapeutics. And this year we're in the process of developing all kinds of new stuff. So stay tuned about that. And I just want to, so I'll stop sharing my screen and just want to say thank you to every single one of you for being here, because the better that you show up, the more that you show up in ways for yourself and ways to help other people, it's so powerful. You know, it's a ripple effect. What you create today is creating for the future, for the people that are around you. You know, when you show up in the best way that you can, you're actually giving permission for other people to do the same. So thank you. And everybody just have a wonderful day and enjoy your week. So much love.